Today I want to share a few thoughts around why boundaries are good for your business, why your staff's boundaries are good for your business, and why it just makes smart business sense. So I use an athlete and sporting analogy. So early on in people's careers as an athlete, 9 times out of 10, firstly, they always have a coach. That's the first thing I'll say. And often in the business, the coach is the leader if you don't have a coaching structure in place to support people. And young athletes, almost to the absolute person that I've worked with, which is 18 years in elite environments, young athletes will normally train and overtrain until they get injured. So they'll essentially burn themselves out and then they'll be out for a block of time. And it's only then that they really kind of learn the lessons of managing their time and energy, listening to the advice that's being given to them, and actually being cautious about how they periodize their training and their energy and their match play and their gameplay. Periodization is essentially breaking down the sport and the core competencies of the sport to allow athletes to peak at the right time for the right events, allow them to be in a good place for each match at the weekend if they're in seasonal sport, allowing them to peak for things like Olympic Games. So they can't redline, they can't go hard all the time, because then they'll just crash, they'll burn, they'll break. And it's exactly the same for us and in the business world. So when we are looking at boundaries for our staff and protecting our boundaries, not to fear our staff's boundaries, but to embrace them and encourage our staff to have them, we're talking about facilitating our staff to protect themselves. Sometimes they need protecting from themselves, and sometimes they just need to know, you know what, it's actually all right for me to prioritize myself and my well-being so that I can ensure I turn up as my best self for the job that I'm trying to do. And that's not something for us to fear as leaders, that's something for us to lean into, because a employee, a member of staff who has energy is going to bring that to work. An employee, a member of staff who has the space and the safety to be able to prioritize their well-being, whatever that means to them, is going to be more focused, is going to be more driven, is going to give more back to the business because they know they're cared for, they're respected, and they're looked after. And that's fundamentally important. In the athlete world or military world, it's exactly the same. If you know your commanding officer has got your back, then you feel confident taking time off. You feel confident that you're not going to come back to some absolute mess of a situation. You know that you're being protected and your time is important, and that you're respected for the job that you do when you're at work, and you're respected as a person outside of work as well. So all of these things send these messages directly and indirectly to the people that you work with. The potential chances of retention go through the roof because your staff feel like they're looked after and cared for, and a member of staff who's looked after and cared for will work harder and stay for longer, even with the lure of things like more money. It's actually it's alongside well-being, is alongside pay as being one of the most important, and culture, one of the most important reasons why people want to stay and retain jobs that they're in. So if you take anything away from this, it would be to, as a leader, to not fear boundaries of your staff, to respect them. And there are 3 brilliant questions that you can ask your staff and feel confident in asking your staff, so that you can really try to understand what wellness means to each individual. And those 3 questions are: what does wellness mean to you, or well-being? Because what works for Harry doesn't work for Barry. So if you've got a well-being, a wellness strategy at your workplace, you need to ensure that it has some sort of flexibility in it to meet the needs of all the individuals within the team. The second question is, what are your professional boundaries? And then the third question is, how can I support you in both of these? And the earlier in someone's tenure, in conversations, in your tenure, that you can ask these questions, the more beneficial it's going to be, because instantaneously at the very beginning, you're setting your stall out. You're saying, not only do I have, and you should articulate your boundaries as well, not only do I have my own boundaries, but I respect yours. And because of that, I'd like to know what they are, because that's our start point and we're getting our reference point for our relationship. So guys, I hope you got some value from this. If you want to check out any of the other resources, then please feel free to do so. I believe I'm supposed to say like and share this like and subscribe. Yeah, that's what you do on YouTube, isn't it? So like and subscribe. And yeah, I'm going to be fielding a few more questions that are coming in. So we will talk soon.